وأصلي وأسلم على خير خلق الله محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبع الهدى وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما، وجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما، ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا ولا معنا شقيا ولا محروما. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Indeed, all praise are for Allah. We praise Him, we seek His aid and ask for His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil within our own selves and the evil consequences of our actions. Whomsoever Allah guides to the straight path of Islam, none can misguide him. And whomsoever Allah Jalla wa Ala allows to go astray, then there's no one who can guide him to the straight path of Islam. And I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah alone, having no partners, and that Muhammad alayhi afdalu salawatu wa tammu taslim is Allah's slave and final messenger. The best speech is the book of Allah, and the best guidance is the guidance of Nabi al-Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. And the worst of all affairs in this religion are those matters newly introduced into it. For every such matter is a heresy, and every heresy is misguidance, and every misguidance leads one to the fire of hell, and we seek Allah's refuge from that. Today, insha'Allah ta'ala, we're going to be speaking about a slightly different subject matter, a different topic from one which you perhaps and I are accustomed to speaking about. But just as we wait for the overhead projector for the PowerPoint presentation, I thought it might be beneficial that we hear some of the words of Allah Azza wa Jal from the Quran. So we'll recite, and inshallah we'll listen, and the reward for the listener will be similar to that of the reciter if we pay attention. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أتى أمر الله فلا تستعجلوه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون. ينزل الملائكة بالروح من أمره على من يشاء من عباده أن أنذروا أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاتقون. خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق تعالى عما يشركون. خلق الإنسان من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين. والأنعام خلقها لكم فيها دفء ومنافع ومنها تأكلون. ولكم فيها جمال حين تريحون وحين تسرحون. وتحمل أثقالكم إلى بلد لم تكونوا بالغيه إلا بشق الأنفس إن ربكم لرؤوف رحيم. So, brothers and sisters in Islam, we'd like to welcome you all to our presentation today. Alhamdulillah, coming from First Ethical. We'll hear a bit more about that, about the work that's being done by the organisation later on towards the end, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. But the topic we wanted to really talk about was pertaining to animal welfare in Islam. But the topic is not simply one of animal welfare in Islam and a topic which might seem unusual. We want to actually approach it from the following lens. And that's the hadith of Al-Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, where he says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was only sent, Al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was only sent with one mission. What's his mission statement? لِأُتَمِّمْ, that I might complete and perfect good character, good morals and good conduct. Now, we're thinking, how does this relate to animals? And how does this relate to creatures and our pets and whatever else? It relates to it in the following way. The Prophet ﷺ said, Makarim al-akhlaq. Akhlaq and khuluq. This word khuluq, or mannerisms and conduct as we call it translated in English, it's a ismun jami', it's a comprehensive term. It's a term which encompasses many, many different parts of our life. In fact, if we say and if we understand that Islam is a holistic religion, it's a religion which addresses every aspect and dimension of our lives. If we say that, and that's what we claim, then we'll come to understand that akhlaq is not just how we deal with one another. We sometimes think if we smile at one another, we say salam, we respect the elders, then we have good akhlaq. And these are hugely important things. La shak. There's no doubt about that. But Islamically, the word akhlaq has different dimensions to it. The scholars of Islam, rahmatullahi alayhim, they mention that akhlaq is of 3 or 5 categories, depending on how we decide to categorize it. And they say, لا مشاحة في الاصطلاح. There's not going to be any huge quarrel about how we say 3 or 5. But the issues that are addressed are the same in both categorizations. Makarim al-akhlaq, good character. It refers first and foremost, before anything else, how we do our dealings with whom? With Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Allah Jalla wa Ala. How is our relationship with Him? In our salah, in our siyam, in our zakah, in our ibadah, in our ta'abbud and ta'alluq of Allah Jalla wa Ala. But it's also part of akhlaq. And that's something which we often forget. We sometimes, in a secularized mindset, we think good character is simply how we deal with one another. And that's important. But first and foremost, how you deal with the creator of the creation. Secondly, also, how we deal with people, the other creation, interpersonal skills, in terms of how we deal and respect with one another, and have true care for one another, compassion for one another. Thirdly, what's the third one going to be? How you deal with your own soul. You save it from sin. You save it from dhulm of your own soul. You save yourself from dhulm to your own soul. And then fourthly, they say, to the animals and the creatures on earth. And then fifthly, to the environment. These are all included and encompassed within good akhlaq. And the one who is devoid of any one of these categories, he hasn't actually attained akhlaq in its true sense. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he came to address each one of those 5. To our ta'abbud to Allah Jalla wa Ala, our dealings with one another, our dealings with our souls and our heart, our dealings with the creatures of Allah, and our dealings with our surroundings and environment. And this is all part of ad-din al-hanifiyya, the deen of Allah, the deen of Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is all addressed. And subhanAllah, we think, how come we don't hear about us in our masajid, in any masjid? When was the last time we heard this issue being discussed? And when we want to return back to the deen, when Allah Jalla wa Ala says, "Udkhulu fi silmi kafa," enter into Islam wholeheartedly, completely, then we know we need to address each one of these issues. And that if it hasn't been done, maybe we're missing something big. And we know, subhanAllah, before we even get into the full presentation, sometimes a small act, what we perceive to be small, it might be what tips the balance in your favor and my favor in the day of judgment. We know that there was a person who saved a small creature or gave another creature a drink of water that we take for granted. And that was a cause of salvation. That was a cause of remission of our sins. And subhanAllah, how many sins we have? How many sins at least I have? none knows but Allah. But it might be these deeds that we take lightly that save us. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Whoever does the smallest act of goodness, he will see it. He will see the goodness in this world, and he'll see it most importantly where? In the Akhirah. So alhamdulillah, brothers, it gives us great joy to be here with you, and this is my first time in your masjid, and mashallah, I know that you're doing many good things. It's a beautiful community, and I thank you alhamdulillah for having had us and having us today. And we hope inshallah this presentation will give us an opportunity to revisit this topic, and for some of us to visit it for the first time. One of the dimensions of akhlaq that the Prophet ﷺ actually is included in his statement regarding the importance of good akhlaq. So a brief overview of what we're going to cover, so that we're all going through this together. We're in this journey covering and revisiting this part of this deen, so that we have a complete understanding. And brothers, it's important when you study any topic of the deen to always have a clear picture in your mind's eye. And sisters likewise, a clear picture in your mind's eye of the structure of what you're studying, so that when you go away, you go away with a complete picture of that issue that's being studied together, inshallah ta'ala. So we want to look first and foremost. First and foremost, we want to look, how does the Quran and the Sunnah of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how do they address this topic? How is this issue tackled in the Quran and Sunnah? How are they mentioned? And why do we say this? Because in the Quran and Sunnah, these are the sources of our life, of our spiritual life, beyond just the food and drink that we eat and we consume. What about the nourishment for our hearts and souls? It comes from the Quran, it comes from the Sunnah. And this is a manual for our success in both lives. So if we want to actually be successful, we're going to look, how does the Quran and the Sunnah deal with it? And this is all going to provide us with an opportunity to reflect upon the creation. You know, the Sahabi, Abu Darda, radallahu anhu. Abu Darda, hands up who's heard of his name? Abu Darda. Okay, he was one of the major Sahaba of the Prophet. His wife, Darda, after he died, she was asked, what was the action of ibadah that Abu Darda did more than any other action? Brothers, I want this to be an interactive session. I don't want this to be just talking to you. Hands up, who?
He used to pray a lot.
He used to pray a lot. He did indeed, but that was what she said he did the most. Barakallahu fikum. What else, brothers? Brother, uncle? No, yourself. Take a guess. There's no harm. We're learning together.
Give zakat.
He used to give lots of zakat. Again, because he was a Sahabi and he was a pious person, we know he must have given lots of charity. Anyone else? The third option, brother. Yes. The good-looking brother. All of good-looking brothers. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, within the context of what you're about to say, I don't know, but I would assume it's that he took care of his, had lots of pets which he took care of.
Okay. Now, these are all, mashallah, intelligent answers. But the answer which Darda gave us was the following. She said the action she did of ibadah more than any other action was tafakkur, reflection. To reflect upon the creation of Allah in order to what? Because the purpose of your creation. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Some of the Mufassirun mentioned that the purpose of creation is to, of course, worship Allah, i.e., to get to know Allah through that worship, to draw close to Him. So when you reflect upon the creation, you get an opportunity to know the greatness of the Creator. To get to know the greatness of Al-Khaliq, the Creator. So this is going to give us an opportunity to reflect on the creation. And then we'll also see some of the issues in terms of our duty towards the huquq of this creation which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made subservient to us. And that key word here is subservient again. Because when we want to now return to the Quran and Sunnah with respect to this issue, what we're going to do even before we come to this hadith is I want to explain the steps. There are two steps here. So we've now covered the first step, which is to say that to engage in this in this ibadah, in this purpose of our life, we need to look at each dimension of our life. Now, when we look at each dimension of our life, we need to look how does the Quran and Sunnah describe these issues, and that's what we're talking about, the first part. The Quran and Sunnah's manner of dealing with this issue. Because the manner in which it deals with this issue tells us how we have to deal with this issue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the animals. And you see, and this will make one matter very clear. That as Ahlul Sunnah, people of Sunnah and Jama'ah, we hold the middle path. We neither go to this extreme, nor to that extreme. So we won't go to the extreme of saying we're totally in love with animals to the extent they're more important than human beings. Nor will we be in the position where we find many Muslims today, where we've lost that compassion for this makhluk of Allah, this creation of Allah. How did the Prophet ﷺ deal with animals? Once, the Prophet ﷺ, he was coming back from a journey. Now you have to imagine, this is either, it might have been nighttime and therefore very cold, or during the daytime, with the sun beating down on their backs. It's hot, you're tired, you're maybe a bit irritable. Isn't that true when you're in the heat and the sweat's coming down, and so you're feeling, a bit jittery. And the Sahaba, one of them, now you can imagine it might have been out of hunger or whatever, they saw this bird, there was the mother, and she had two chicks by her side, who were just, like you see the small animals behind their mother, following the only person, or only being that they know, and they're following her. Suddenly, these Sahaba thought, perhaps this is our lunchtime. Yeah? So they took these two chicks, and they were maybe going to take it for whatever reason, or maybe for keeping. But this disturbed the mother intensely and immensely. It disturbed her. And the disturbance was vivid, and it was apparent on her expression. She was fluttering her wings, perhaps. She was really disturbed. She was moving around. If any of you have ever seen something like this in your lives, or perhaps on a program, whatever, you know what we're talking about. The Prophet whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We didn't send you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, except as a rahmah for whom? For human beings? For alameen, for all of creation. For all of creation. He stopped the Sahaba and said, Who is it who took these two chicks from the mother? Who is it who took these chicks from the mother? Return them to her, for indeed she has been disturbed and made very anxious and gone through pain as a result of this. Rahmah, brothers and sisters of Islam, where is this rahmah in our lives that we show towards these creatures? The Prophet ﷺ said, Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhum ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahimun, the merciful, the people amongst us, brothers and sisters. This could be, the Prophet doesn't talk about you. If you show mercy, compassion to Allah's creation, the animals, and if you do that, then inshallah even more so we'd expect for one another. If you show it to these creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because why? Because they're a creation of Allah. So if you respect Allah, respect His creation. You respect Allah, respect His creation. And have mercy towards them, the way Allah has had mercy upon you and me as His creation. So, the Prophet said, Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhum ar-Rahman. The ones who are merciful to the creation, being human beings and creatures, animals, then Ar-Rahman, Allah, will have mercy upon you. And then the Prophet he used a conditional clause, they call it in Arabic. Jumla shartiyya, a conditional clause, which says, Irhamu man fil ard, yarhamkum man fis sama. Be merciful to the creation. And the one who's above the heavens, Allah, who's above the heavens in a manner which befits His Majesty, Jalla wa ala, will be merciful to you. He'll be merciful to us. How many times do we wish we make a dua and we hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy upon us, will answer our du'as, will provide for us. Yet, and when we feel we're being deprived of some element of His, a small element of His rahmah, we think, why? We don't understand. Perhaps it could be an absence of rahmah in our conduct with others that's causing a lack of rahmah in our own lives, or a shortcoming, or shortage of rahmah. It's in some area of our life. Okay, so now coming to the point of some surahs which have mentioned the name of animals in the Quran. So let's see. We have Surah Al-Baqarah, which we all know is the largest chapter in the Quran. Not all talking about Al-Baqarah, the cow or cattle, but it's the surah which is named after the Quran. Or not after a surah in the Quran named after the cow. Now, what's significant here? I'm going to ask you. Why should this be of any interest to us? Why is this significant to us? I mean, if an animal if is mentioned as a surah's title, name, why is that a big deal? Or likewise, because there's some surahs which are not named after these creatures. However, they're mentioned inside the surah. Why is this of significance to us? Brothers, tell me. The sisters want to write down the answers, well, they're welcome as well. Why is this something of interest to us? Brother? No, just we want to encourage creativity and thinking, inshallah, outside the box. Fadda ya Sheikh.
Yeah, because we all know.
What's your name, Sheikh?
Trimidi.
Tirmidhi.
Yeah.
Hayakallah ya Sheikh Tirmidhi.
So because they are contained in the book of Allah, and we all know the importance of Quran to our lives. So the moment they are mentioned there, so we know that shows the significance of the issue.
Jameel, beautiful. Jazakallah khair. We know the importance of the Quran. What is the Quran? The Quran is the speech of Allah, the book of Allah and the speech of Allah. غير مخلوق, not created. And Allah, in this speech which is eternal, He chose, Jalla wa ala, chose to mention something in the Quran. Is that not a sign of sharaf, of some type of status Allah is giving it? Some type of importance, something that He's trying to draw our attention to. For us to reflect, to think, to ponder. Because the greatness of the creation is an indication of the greatness of the Creator. The greatness of the Creator. Now, we should know and understand and take this as a principle in your lives, brothers and sisters. There's not a single dot that's placed in the Quran except it is with hikmah, with wisdom from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with intent. So we should bear that in mind. Now, and just the final point I want to mention on this slide is the following. If you really take a step back, and this is something which really struck me when we were preparing for this presentation before all of you. Who would imagine a book which is intended for our guidance, for human beings' guidance? They should have a surah mentioning the ant, and a bee, and a cow. Is it something which you would consider instinctive? It's not. In fact, this is a sign from the many signs that this speech is wahy, revelation from Allah. Because no person who's pretending to be a prophet would ever come up with something as amazing as this. So some examples of animals in the Quran. We know the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam and the hudhud bird. Again, subhanAllah, something which captures our imagination. We hear all these, fancy stories. But this is not a story, this is a fact, a reality, an incident that occurred. Again, showing the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know the story of Yunus alayhi salam and being in the belly of the whale. He wasn't in, a 5-star hotel when he made this dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was in the belly of a whale, in a layer of darkness, under darkness. The darkness of the whale, under the darkness of the sea, under the darkness of the sky. And it was under those 3 layers of darkness that he cried out to Allah, crying, La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu minal zalimin. There's no deity worthy of worship except you, O Allah. Indeed, I am of the wrongdoers. And Allah says, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. We responded to him. And the fa is of the ta'qeeb. It means it immediately followed after it. Because the malaika, they said, even in the depths of that belly of the whale, in the depths of the sea, in the depths of the darkness of the night, they said, we heard this voice that's a familiar voice. Why was it familiar? Because Yunus alayhi salam was known for doing tasbih, for doing dhikr. And the malaika, when they hear dhikr, and we hope and we pray to Allah, He makes this gathering of ours a gathering of His dhikr, of His remembrance, because we are making tasbih for Him. We're reflecting upon His greatness and upon the greatness of His book. The angels come and they encompass us, inshallah. So the angels were accustomed to hearing His voice because He made tasbih and dhikr of Allah. They said, Ya Allah, this is a familiar voice to us. So Allah said, this is the voice of my slave Yunus. And Allah immediately responded to his call. And we know the story of Sulaiman and the ant, the Namla. Now, we mentioned the whale just recently, just right now. I want to talk to you about the blue whale. One of the makhluk of Allah, one of the creation of Allah. And subhanallah, if you're not literally blown away by mention of this whale, maybe I shouldn't say blown away, but if you're not really taken aback by this makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't know what will actually really awaken us from the sleep that we get into. Because often, brothers and sisters in Islam, we see a rise in atheism nowadays, do we not? And is that perhaps, I put it to you, is it just perhaps because we have got so stuck into our lifestyles of being surrounded in a concrete jungle? We just go from home to work and work to home, if we're lucky. Otherwise we're just in our houses and we just see hard objects and cars and whatnot. We don't see the living creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And hence we're disconnected from Allah's creation. We're disconnected from Allah's creation. So now is the opportunity we're having right now to reconnect. Some facts about the blue whale. Its length is 30 to 40 meters long. And it weighs 200 tons. Up to 200 tons in weight. And just its lisan, its tongue, is 2 to 3 tons heavy. Its tongue. And if you subhanAllah know about the amount, it's moving through the ocean. How much noise, how loud it is, and how much it eats. Subhanallah, you'll be fascinated, dazzled. Its calf, that's its baby. It'll weigh 3 tons, but it will drink 400 liters per day. Subhanallah. Say subhanallah. Now I just want you to think for a second. When the ladies in our families and so on, they very rightfully complain that our kids, subhanAllah, when they're breastfeeding their kids, they're draining my energy, they're taking up all my energy, he's drinking so much, she never stops drinking. What you have to say is, subhanAllah, let us thank Allah, we're not blue whales. Because that's 400 liters every day that the calf drinks. Likewise, the mouth of the whale, it can hold up to 90 tons in its mouth, but it can't swallow anything except the size of a beach ball. SubhanAllah. Now think about that. You have this huge animal this huge mammal, the largest, greatest mammal in size, mammal known to man, known to human being. And it can swallow such a huge amount. But Allah makes it humble, such that in spite of taking in 90 tons, it can't swallow anything smaller, anything larger than an inch. Humility. And just the fact that it's got such a large mouth, subhanAllah, you should think if someone says to you, if a husband says to his wife, MashaAllah, dear, you have a mouth like a whale, then maybe that's not the best of compliments to pay. And likewise, whereas if you say you've got a heart of a whale, then maybe that's the better thing to say. Go ahead. There's about 25,000 whales, blue whales, in the world. Now what I want you to think is the following point. You have 25,000 blue whales, these whales in the world. Each whale is going to be taking in 90,000 tons in its mouth. 90,000 tons in its mouth. 90 tons, sorry. And 25,000 blue whales. 25,000. And you imagine 25,000 times 90 tons. Each time it opens its mouth. Who's providing for it? Who's providing for it? Is it any other than Allah? Allah provides for the blue whale that much because He is Ar-Razzaq. He is the one who provides. And not just the blue whale, brothers. That's Islam. I want to ask you, we're going to come back to the blue whale in a second. Pigs. A'udhu billah, some people say, Astaghfirullah, you're mentioning a pig in the masjid of Allah. Well, the pig is mentioned in the Quran. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever seen a skinny pig? Have you ever seen a slim pig? Have you? Never. Allah provides for that animal. You think Allah, who provides for the pig and the swine, is not going to provide for us? Because subhanAllah, we don't feel connection to Allah. We don't rely upon Allah with tawakkul to Allah, upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the manner which is befitting His Majesty. The Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, لَوْ تَوَكَّلْتُمْ عَلَى اللَّهِ حَقَّ تَوَكُّلِهِ. Had you relied upon Allah with a true reliance upon Him, with a true dependence from your heart, not your actions, you actually take the means which are necessary, that's from the essence of tawakkul, but, excuse me, your heart is connected to Allah. Had you done that, then you would have been provided by Allah the same way that He provides for the birds. They leave their nests empty and they return at the end of the day with their bellies filled with the provision from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think let's give some details. Yeah. So the food that we're talking about is 10 million krill a day. 10 million krill. And the krill, subhanAllah, they could have been eating anything huge. Allah made it such they eat this small animal. And 10 million krill. Ar-Razzaq. That's Allah's name. Allah's name is Ar-Razzaq. We should remember that. And so when we reflect upon the creation of Allah and the greatness of it, we feel the greatness of the Creator. This is the namla, the ant, the ant mentioned in the Quran. And you see it connected actually in this instance to a snail. It's not them shaking hands, it's just one connected to another side of this twig. Some facts about it. And the ant has 2 stomachs. So now we know we all like our food, perhaps, and our chicken and chips and biryani and maqluba and whatever else. And we eat maybe a lot, but we have 1 stomach. The ant, that small, tiny species, has 2 stomachs. Allah created it with 2 stomachs. But not so it can eat twice, the way we would if we had 2 stomachs. But 1 stomach for itself, and 1 stomach for feeding others. Again, because caring is sharing. It has this rahmah upon its other beings. Where's our rahmah for our fellow people? Its weight, as you can see, is 50 to, it can carry 50 to 100 times its own body weight. Again, subhanAllah, this tiny creature, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instilled in it this type of strength. And subhanAllah, they have such a sophisticated network within themselves of dealing with one another. And likewise, the total mass of ants, subhanAllah, it equals the total mass of human beings upon the earth. It's equivalent. And for each human being, there's an equivalent of 1.5 million ants. Say subhanAllah. And the queen can live up to 20 years. And she lays between 500 and 1,000 eggs per day. I've been busy, subhanAllah. Okay, another animal. It's called the bar-tailed godwit. SubhanAllah. How far do you travel, brothers and sisters, for yours? Allah makes this animal travel 12,000 kilometers from Alaska to New Zealand in 9 days with no food for 9 days. And then it receives its visit. We travel from here down to our local, HMC halal food, and khalas, we think we've done our walk for our food. Not 12,000 kilometers. Why? So that we may feel grateful for the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. هذا خلق الله فأروني ماذا خلق الذين من دونه. This is the creation of Allah. This is the creation of Allah. So show me, what have those who are invoked besides Allah, what have they created? They can't create even, as Allah says, a wing of a mosquito. They can't even create a fly. And even if they were to create a fly, and the fly was to take something from them, they couldn't take it back. This is what Allah says in the Quran. How hopeless the human being is in terms of his relationship with Allah. Allah is able to do all things, and our abilities are limited. Allah shows us the amazing nature, the sublime nature of His creation. Now, in terms of what we said earlier on, of akhlaq, because this is what it's all about, us returning to having complete good akhlaq. There are different dimensions of our worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's our direct worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the arrow going straight up to Allah. Where we worship Allah through dua, through dhikr, through salah. And then there's our worship to others through others, i.e. through our relationship with them. We obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our relationship with them. So we respect our parents. We are kind to our neighbors irrespective of their background. Because we know the Prophet ﷺ told us about their rights. We're then kind to the creatures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to have rahmah, compassion and mercy too. Because this is all part of our ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. So the rights, the huquq ul-ibad and the huquq al-makhluq, the rights of the creation, that includes the poor, the people, the parents, of course, first and foremost, and the environment and the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ told us there is a reward in relation to every living creature. Every living creature there's a reward. And we know the story, and this is not just a story for us to hear through one ear and out the other, of that lady or that man in another riwayah who had committed immense amount of sins, and just for the giving of a drink of water to that dog, they were emancipated and freed from the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ said that the grievous things are al-ishraq billah, shirk with Allah, disobedience, uquq al-walidain, disobedience to the parents, and the killing, i.e., the killing of breathing beings. In the case of animals, the unnecessary killing of animals. Yes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the meaning of which is, there is not an animal in the earth, nor a creature flying on two wings. But they are communities like you. إِلَّا أُمَمٌ أَمْثَالُكُمْ مَا فَرَّطْنَا فِي الْكِتَابِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. إِلَّا except there are communities just like us. Allah has neglected anything in the book of Allah, in His book. Allah has cursed the one who inflicts pain upon animals. This is a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, the two most authentic books after the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something we should have to reflect upon. And I want you to think, what about in our current day? This isn't just it back home. We know when we go, the so-called back home, when we go to the Muslim majority countries, some of them, I can talk about, for example, in Asia, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, I have both my family from both those countries, and in India. And if you go into the Arab world and other countries, you will see animals sometimes unrightly abused, overburdened, having to carry something way beyond what is right. The Prophet ﷺ once, he was passing by a camel, and this is, subhanAllah, this is because he was the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He saw a camel being overburdened, and the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet of mercy, he says, who is the owner of this camel? Who is the owner of this camel? For indeed, it is complained to me that it is being overburdened. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Nabi al-Rahmah, and Nabi of mercy, he felt the pain of that animal. He heard and understood the complaint of that animal. The Prophet said, Allah has cursed the one who inflicts pain upon animals. So we don't need to just think of that particular example of the camel. What about the current day examples of cruelty towards animals? Sometimes there's a need of keeping animals close together. But there are other times, like in the UK, when it's not necessary to intensively farm an animal. When that's not a need, why is it done? We should feel a sense of ghira, even for this creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it's a makhluk of Allah. We've mentioned some of these ahadith. So how can we make a difference in this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يا أيها الناس كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا. O mankind, eat from whatever is on earth that is halalan طيبا. These are two separate words. And in the Arabic language, they have a principle. Al-aslu, they say the principle is al-mughayara. Al-aslu fi al-iqtiran al-mughayara. When two words or two things are juxtaposed, i.e. placed one next to another. Yeah? So when you say water and juice, the fact that there's the word and between those two nouns is indicative that water is separate and distinct from juice. The two things are separate. So when Allah says halalan tayyiba, halal and tayyiba, these are two separate descriptions of the food that we're meant to be eating. The same food. The food is meant to be halal and it's meant to be tayyib. These are two conditions. Not necessarily the same level of importance. Halal refers to the slaughter. That when you eat that food, it should have been slaughtered properly. It should have been attained and acquired in a lawful manner. However, what about tayyib? Because the slaughter, we know, in terms of the slaughter, you should say Bismillah, you should slaughter it, so on and so forth. But and that just takes how many minutes for it to be slaughtered? Not long. What about tayyib? It should be good. I.e., all the care you give it beforehand. It shouldn't have been abused. It shouldn't have been totally mutilated. That's not right. That's not tayyib. It shouldn't have been harmed. And that's why the Islamic slaughter, we know, is something which is the most merciful manner of taking the life of the animal. Because it's not meant to see other animals as they're being slaughtered. It's meant to be, the blade is meant to be sharpened. And its nerves going to its brain are actually severed immediately, within 1 or 2 seconds of slaughter. And thereafter, alhamdulillah, it feels no pain. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَتَبَ الْإِحْسَانَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Indeed, Allah has written or prescribed ihsan upon all things. So, and he mentions the importance, alayhi salatu wasalam, of taking due process, even with regards to taking the life of the animal. And in the hadith, anyone who shows mercy, even to an animal meant for slaughtering, will be shown mercy by Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Another example here is the two types of eggs. And this is something, brothers and sisters, which you and I, we can all implement. There used to be a time when there's free-range eggs, used to be very expensive. Nowadays, alhamdulillah, you can actually go even to, subhanAllah, Sainsbury's or whichever supermarket. You have something called freedom eggs. Now, freedom eggs there's a difference between freedom eggs and battery eggs. Freedom eggs, as you'll see, this is the comparison. With battery eggs, these are now overcrowded. They're emotionally and physically harmed. Their beaks, subhanAllah, this is A4 paper, correct? That's how the space that several chickens are herded in together. And now in the UK, I can't see as a norm, that shouldn't necessarily be the norm in the way that the animals should be kept. With their beaks being severed, cut off from one another, in order to stop them biting off the feathers and harming one another. And the eggs that come out are of poor quality. The diet they're given is not healthy. And the way that they're fed steroids and drugs, subhanAllah, what type of rahmah is this? Such that in 39 days, that's 6 weeks, they're made to weigh the same weight that would usually take them to gain over 5 to 6 months. 5 to 6 months is achieved in 6 weeks because of these steroids. What's that doing to us in our bodies as well by consuming this? Compared to when the animal is granted and given grass and daylight, and they're not constantly enclosed. SubhanAllah, one has to see, if one has the financial capacity, which choice they should make. And alhamdulillah, nowadays, with the freedom eggs, not just the free range, but the freedom eggs, the price difference is not much more than a few eggs. And alhamdulillah, hopefully if one's able to do that, that will be something in the scale of one's good deeds on the Day of Judgment. Likewise, with line-caught fish as opposed to net-caught fish. This is something which, alhamdulillah, is not an overly big issue. However, the issue here is in terms of welfare, but this is an issue of sustainability. Because Allah has made us khulafa'ul ard, vicegerents and caretakers of the earth. That means we're not meant to be overusing and exerting the creation of Allah beyond need. Yes, for food, for clothing, for drink, khalas, that's fine. But to just be wasteful, Allah doesn't like those who are excessive and extravagant. So with net-caught fish, what happens is, subhanAllah, yallah, bismillah, you take all of the fish and half of them you throw back into the ocean, dead. Wastage. Unless they're eaten, some of them will be wasted. Like line-caught fish, they're actually selected. Now, one of the things we can do in this instance is one of the partners of First Ethical is actually RSPC. It's a very old charity, in fact, it's one of the oldest in the UK. And alhamdulillah, it's doing some good work, inshallah. And you can even go to their website to find out more about some of these amazing things of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on our website, some of the Islamic stances on these issues. You can sign some of these petitions. Not all of them necessarily will be in accordance, but the ones which are in accordance with the deen, sign it because this is for the rights and the rahmah of the creation of Allah. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. This is something which is shared between us and them in this matter. So let us, as Allah says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. Cooperate with everyone upon righteousness and piety. As long as it's khayr, cooperate upon it. And don't let yourself be held back in that regard. I want to finish with one verse. And that is, in this instance, one of my favorite ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, after saying, وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ. And there's not a thing except that exalts Allah by His praise, but you do not understand their way of exalting. This is Surah Al-Isra. And perhaps we've got a reciter who recited better than ourselves. Khalas, you heard it in this recitation. There's not a single thing. So you have to imagine, whenever you pass by, even you see an ant crawling on the earth, understand it's doing tasbih. The frog, the foxes, that we think, subhanAllah, why they're running around. even they have to tasbih for Allah. Let us understand the greatness of the creation of Allah, so we understand Allah's goodness. And then let that also inspire us to worship Allah with greater ta'abbud to Allah, with greater amount of tasbih and dhikr. So inshallah, what we've covered today was the Islamic perspective on the welfare of this makhluk, this creation of Allah, some of the ayat and ahadith pertaining to this, and some of the ethical issues surrounding consumption of this creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and consumer habits related to it. At this point, inshallah, I want to hand over to my beloved brother and colleague Umar Malik Hafidhahullah ta'ala, and to say a few words inshallah regarding this.
Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair, and firstly for myself before for Jazakallah khair. To all of you for your good listening and your patience through the presentation, inshallah. I hope we didn't bore you too much, inshallah. And inshallah we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Assalamu alaikum. I explained briefly last time what First Ethical was about. I just quickly again explain that we all know that Muslims are not put in the best frame of light in the media and stuff like that. And it's just about actions speak louder than words. And First Ethical's approach is just to involve themselves in the various campaigns, such as the last one we had of Sadaqah, and the action point, which we'll be doing soon as well, inshallah, is to go and visit a local homeless shelter. This one is to do with animal rights, which again, both campaigns, as well as all of our other ones, have some non-Muslims can also, it's something that's a big part of their life as well, and something that they can relate to, especially when they see the RSPCA there and Salvation Army, who else we partner with. And these are going to be handed out just now, to brothers to hand them out, inshallah. Just like last time, a little guide on the importance of animal welfare in Islam. But just for the next 5 minutes, if you've got any questions before the Isha on the issue, before we close.
Don't be shy, inshallah, when it comes to seeking knowledge.
بالنسبة للنمل كنادة النمل أيضا النمل يدخلوا لكن لا يحتمل لك سليمان سليمان وجدهم لا يشعرون.
نعم.
ليش تحطيم يعني؟
ايش؟
ليش كيف تحطيم يعني؟
تحت
لا يحتمل لك سليمان هل هي مصنوعة من مادة معينة؟
والله لم أفهم السؤال.
الآية
نعم.
يا أيها النملة ادخلوا مساكن لا يحتملنكم سليمان وجنودهم لا يشعرون. ليش تحطيم يعني؟ ليش ما يقتلنكم؟
نعم. The brother is asking about the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam, pertaining to an ayah, the tafsir of the ayah. That the ayah says that after that he actually smiled when he heard this statement of the ants saying, the ants were saying, "Oh ants, quickly move before Sulaiman and his army," because he was on his way to actually somewhere else, the Saba. So he said, hurry before Sulaiman actually tramples over you. So then Sulaiman alayhi salam said, فَتَبَسَّمَ ضَاحِكًا مِنْ قَوْلِهِ. He said, he smiled as a result of hearing these words. Yeah? Because he actually understood what was being said. Allah gave him this ability. One of the points I wanted to actually bounce off the back of this question was, subhanallah, the point we raised earlier on, about the one who's merciful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, these creatures, it should even help us reflect in our mercy to one another. Because, subhanallah, think about the example, the hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ told us, or it comes in a riwayah, that once Sulaiman one of the Anbiya of Allah, I believe it was Musa alayhi salam, was bitten by an ant. Okay? He was bitten by an ant, and out of that the anger of having been bitten by that one ant, what did he do? He actually lit or burnt down that ant's nest. Okay? Something which maybe some people wouldn't think is a big deal, it's just ants. SubhanAllah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimanded that Nabi, saying, "Why, oh so and so, you were bitten by one ant and you burnt down all of them? Why not just that one? If that ant has harmed you, subhanAllah, you can take that one ant maximum. But all of those ants? Now we're laughing, we're thinking, subhanAllah, this is the standard Allah set for us in our deen. And if we set that standard for ourselves with regards to these creatures, what type of standard we should also set for ourselves, amongst ourselves, one another? True or not? Any other questions, brother?
I think these days, we do have some ants in our houses and come in and we insecticide and to kill them.
Yeah.
How do
The question is pertaining to ants infestation. Okay, we're going before just taking the question itself head on, inshallah, I want to make a point. And that is, the purpose of this discussion was even before studying from a fiqhi dimension, which is what the question is about. How should we deal with this circumstance and that circumstance? There will be answers, and I can give some of them now. But the aim of tonight's discussion was what? To feel the greatness of Allah's creation. Yeah? Now, whether we say under the circumstance of infestation we should do with this or that, or get rid of them or kill them, whatever, the ants, nothing else, yeah? Then that shouldn't affect the core message of tonight, which is feel the uzma, the greatness of Allah through the greatness of His creation. With regards to that specific question, Ya Shaykh, then the answer is, the ulama say, if there's an infestation in some sort of this harming one can get rid of it through whatever any permissible means is, and we should hopefully cause at least damage and harm to the class. That's fine. There's no harm. وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. Anything else, brothers? Or should we take one final question? Salah. Okay, Jazakallah khairan for myself. Wa sallallahu alaihi wa sallam Muhammad wa ala sallam.
Jazakallah khair for everyone, inshallah. Let's do that then.